Hi, welcome to today's video. I'm Tilly. If you have been to my channel before, hello, hi, welcome. It's really nice to see you. And if you haven't been to my channel before, hello, hi, welcome. It's really nice to meet you. Welcome to part 3 of the Deadlock cosplay creation. I am running out of time. We want to have it done by January. Mid-January for MegaCon London, and I am slowly starting to realize I'm going to be on a little bit of a time crunch as we are getting closer to that con. But I do feel like we are about halfway there, and in this episode you are going to see me making the boots. We also do have some extra footage of me putting together the t-shirt, not very much, but some little bits that I forgot that I'd filmed and just didn't realize. If you follow Risa and I's cosplay Instagram, you would have already seen some updates on the boots. If you want to see more frequent cosplay updates from me, you can follow us here. And you'll know if you do follow us on Instagram that I am so happy with how the boots have turned out. I think they might be the best part of the cosplay so far for me. But let's jump straight into the video and have a look at how I put them together. As usual, if you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to leave it a like and subscribe if you want to see more. Not only does it really help out my channel, but it lets me know that I'm making the right content for you. So as I mentioned, we are going to be having a teeny tiny look at the top that I made for Deadlock. This actually is the piece that I am the least happiest with so far. I think because the jacket had a lot of learning curves for me and took a lot of work. I felt really happy with it considering how much work and new things I tried. And obviously the boots I've already said that I'm really happy with, but there's something about the top that I'm just not thrilled about. So I began by collecting a really large polo top. I don't know why I picked up such a large top. I think I was worried about not getting the right color again, as this was the closest color I had found to Deadlock's ones so far, and it was in a charity shop, so it's nice and sustainable and cheap for me. So I started by bringing that in. I did lots and lots and lots of lines of on this just to make sure it was nice and secure, and then I also cropped the bottom up a bit. I should have brought it up a little bit more, but we'll talk about that later. So after I had cropped the top, I then started looking at the decal on the front. I initially thought I was going to sew it on with the sewing machine so it had a nice and finished look, but I don't know whether I had just learned too much or I'd spent too much time sewing. I, for the life of me, could not figure out how to get a nice clean finish on this piece. So I decided to just glue it, as it would save time and energy. And I could have some nice time rewatching Attack on Titan whilst I was gluing. So with the decal, I just cut out individual pieces. I made some cardboard pieces first to test that I would be cutting at the right size, as we are working with limited materials. So I cut out some fake pieces with the cardboard and then cut them out of the fabric. I've been working on the top pretty much all afternoon and it is pretty much done. Might have saw earlier, I can't remember how much I filmed. I didn't film very much of this because my phone kept running out of battery and then running out of storage, and I just decided to just film when I was finished. So I did just put the entire cosplay as it is so far all together on, and it looks sick. I ended up just gluing on the decal on the front because I tried to sew it and I think it's just way beyond my skill level right now. So I just glued it on, and honestly I'm really happy with how it looks. I think I've got a better effect gluing it than I would have done if I had attempted to sew it. Stuff to do on the back here, but honestly once the trousers are on, the majority of this is actually covered up. I'm hoping that when I wear it in January I'll be able to like pull this bit up quite a bit so that it sits a little bit higher up, so you do get more of this action going on. All I'm going to do now is cut off the collar, because you're not going to be able to see this section anyway because it's going to be covered by a scarf, and then I'm going to paint another bit of the jacket, and then I am done for today because I have literally done this all day and I have not stopped. Now we are going to move on to the main focus of this video, and that is the boots. I got these boots from Primark. I think I mentioned that in the footage. I picked them up from Primark. They were on offer, they were really cheap, and I had been searching for these boots for ages. Me and Reese often like to buy secondhand, as not only is it cheap for us, but we are very consciously sustainable people, and we like buying secondhand materials and pieces just so it does make what we're producing a little bit more eco. So the first thing I did with the boots was I went all in, full guns blazing, and painted the bottoms black, which was absolutely fine. I don't see anything wrong with doing this. I don't fault myself for doing this. I just got a little bit overexcited and did quite a big step first. I think I needed to do some initial cosmetics to sort of visualize what I wanted to do with the boots. So I have a feeling this is why I did that first. And then I went a little bit too far and I painted on the black stripes that are on the front of the boot. I think they're meant to be like clips or even like Velcro to attach the sides of the boots together, or like laces maybe. But I knew from the beginning that I was going to be painting most of the shoe on, so they're just like a decorative element for my boots. Now, this is something I should have held off on for a little while before doing, but we live and we learn. It's all good now. After the stripes were painted and dried, I then moved on to adding the additional material on the outside of the boot. I wouldn't even know what to call it. I'm assuming that the boot is meant to be like a baggier combat fit, because I was looking at getting combat boots initially. So I decided to add on these additional pieces with some foam. I cut 2 pieces to size, sort of tried them out, made sure that they looked like I wanted them to, and then did some more. So I had 4 different ones for the 2 shoes, like 1 for each side. I then glued on the edges once I was happy with their shape, and then also glued them on at the back. I did try to get a nice clean seam at the back so that it looked like they were one piece, or not as shabby and homemade as they are, but I realized I, again, should have done that before I glued them on, but now we know for next time, don't get excited and glue them on straight away. But once I had glued them on, and once you'll see when I paint them, they do actually look quite good. There is a seam down the back of her shoe anyway, so I wasn't so fussed about that being a cosmetic issue, but I do wish it looked a little bit cleaner. We then added on the extra additional foam pieces. So there is the like latch, what am I on about? Strap that goes like over the middle of her foot, which I'm kind of assuming is like a Velcro clip thing that like actually keeps it stuck to her foot. And then we added some extra bits around the side, which I think I should have done a little bit bigger. I think it would have looked a little bit better and more realistic, but I'm not ashamed of how they look at all. In fact, I'm very, very happy. So I'm not even gonna say that they look bad, because I'm not sad about it or mad about it. It was also at this point that I realized I wanted to paint the boots white. So I think I mentioned this in the video again, but I essentially wasn't gonna paint the boots white because her jacket is meant to be white, but the one that I made her jacket with isn't. It's like an off-white, creamy, warm white color. So I happened to get boots that matched, so I assumed to keep some continuity, I was just gonna keep them the same color. Then I added on the foam, and I realized that I would have to paint the foam in order to match the boot. And then I realized that getting that nice warm beigey color to paint on the foam would be not fun. So once we had all of our foam pieces on and attached, I added on some primer. I don't actually know if this did anything. I think it did help to give the black foam a base coat, so it took less white coats to then cover up the black. But I did that, and once it dried, I started painting, and that's when they all really started coming together. So it's the next day, the boots are all dry, and I'm gonna start painting them completely all in a coat of white. I know I literally said I wasn't gonna paint them white and I was just gonna keep them the color they are, which is why I didn't mind getting the beige boots, because I was never gonna paint them. But I've decided to paint them. So as you saw last night, I did a complete layer of primer across the foam and the base of the boot. I don't know how well the paint is gonna stick to the base, just because I did try sanding it down and it really wasn't doing very much at all. So I think I'm just gonna have to make sure I do lots and lots of coats of white and then just cover it in Mod Podge and sealant. I'm really looking forward to painting these actually, because unlike the jacket, I'm painting the whole thing and adding on lots of teeny tiny details, which is always more fulfilling and satisfying for me. But I'm really happy with how they're looking actually. They look a lot better than I thought they would. But I feel like they will really start to look good once we get some coats on. I have put them on once or twice just to test how the boot moves when I'm putting my feet in and out. I haven't done a walk test yet. I might do that now actually. I did have a couple of pieces pop off just because, yeah, see, my foot does stretch the top bit of the boot quite a bit. So I might just have to make sure that I do take some Mod Podge with me and some super glue and my hot glue gun, just so I can make sure if anything does happen to fall off, I can reattach it. I don't know how well you can see this, but the boots are on and the hot glue is like popping. But I think walking should be fine. It's popping all over the shop. But for now, I am gonna do a paint of white just to see how many coats I need to put on. Once I had done that first white coat, I was getting really, really excited and sort of envisioning how I thought they were going to look in the end and getting really proud of myself, rightly so. So the boots are already looking a lot better. I'm really happy with how they're looking. Obviously, it's a very patchy paint job. It looks patchier in real life than it does on camera. So I think they're going to need 2 or 3 coats more and then they'll be good to paint. As there is a lot of detailing on the boots as well, I'm not too worried about the coat being completely seamless. As you can see, it's like it's quite streaky. That normally happens with hand painting anyway, so I was expecting that. Really need to invest in some spray paint. But anyway, really happy with how they're looking. I tried to be as neat as possible, but I was always planning to do another coat on the bottom anyway of black. And yeah, so I'm gonna wait for these to dry and then I'm gonna do some other stuff and then come back and put another coat on. So once we got the boots painted white, I then started working on the details. So I began by painting on the little grey edge, which was really fiddly and I couldn't get the right ratio of paint on the brush in order to not make it splodge out at the sides and like hit the top of the boot, because I wanted a nice clean finish, but realistically I don't think I'm ever going to achieve that, so they're just the way they are. We also added on the numbers at the back and the coloured patches at the top. These boots were quite nice in that they came with the little like ring, like loop of fabric that Deadlock shoes have. Anyway, so I didn't have to figure out how I was gonna like attach that well enough so that they weren't gonna pop off every 10 minutes. So I painted those yellow to match the boots, and then yeah. Sorry for the awful lighting, but here is where we are at with the boots currently. I've spent a lot of time today working on them and adding on some details. So I've done a second coat of the black on the base and added this little bit at the back, which is part of the design. It's like a 3D element on the actual shoe, but as I'd added the 3D foam already, it didn't then make sense for me to add another thing on top, because then the grey bit would also have to be 3D, and I don't have the time nor patience to do that right now. We also added on the black stripes down the front. They're looking groovy. And yeah, now I am going to work on the smaller details. So there's like lots of teeny tiny like edges and lines, which are like obviously engravings or like seams, but they're not going to be actual seams like I've done on other parts of the cosplay. They are just going to be painted on. So I'm going to work on that now. I'm also going to see if I can get the numbers on the back, but I am running out of time today, so I'm just going to do what I can. Hi, so it's been a couple of days. I've had a busy week going up to London and doing exciting things. So I haven't done a cosplay update in a couple of days, or actually worked on any cosplay in a couple of days. But here are the boots. They literally are so close to being finished. I have like 2 more steps to go and then I'm done. So what we have left to do is make these little yellow bits 3D. So we are running out of foam, but we have just enough left for me to make some little tiny rectangles to stick on top. And then we're gonna do a coat of Mod Podge. I've decided not to do any more coats of white, as when I tried on the boots, the paint was cracking off the side. So we are just gonna seal her and leave her be. So happy with how they look. I mean, obviously when I make any bit of cosplay, I always want it to look its best. But I did not expect these to turn out looking as good as they do, so I'm super duper happy with them. I'm just going to make these little 3D elements and then glue them on, and then I think I might just do a coat of Mod Podge, do a couple of coats of Mod Podge just so that they are nice and clean. So that is how I made Deadlock's boots. I will show you them now. I won't leave you in any more suspense. They basically look the same as when you last saw them, but let's get excited anyway. Here they are, looking fabulous. I might have to take some like glamour shots of them by themselves because I don't know how much of them you can actually see. Although I don't want to get too close because the paintwork is patchy. But yeah, I am so chuffed with how these turned out. As I mentioned earlier, I think they're my favourite part of the cosplay so far, and might even be one of my favourite things I've ever made for cosplay. Other than my sky top, I was really proud of that. That's the first thing I ever made. They're pretty much done. All that's left to do is I need to seal them up with some Mod Podge. Maybe I should get like some proper paint sealant, just because when I have tried them on, they have cracked at the edges, and they've cracked again. I think I tried them on the other day and they cracked in multiple places more, so I'm gonna have to make sure they're nice and sealed so they don't do that. And I am getting so excited about this Deadlock cosplay. We are about halfway through the Deadlock process. I really hope you are enjoying watching it, if you are someone who is watching them. I know these videos don't get a lot of traffic, but I really enjoy documenting the processes of me making these and sharing my work with you. So thank you if you do support these videos of mine and you do like and share them and even watch them all the way through. So grateful, thank you so much. As I mentioned earlier, if cosplay is something you enjoy seeing, I have a joint cosplay Instagram account with my partner where we post more frequent updates and more detailed updates of like smaller parts of the cosplay process. And I do also stream on Twitch. I play a little bit of Valorant and also some RPGs and puzzle solving games. So if that sounds like something you would like to see too, you can follow me on Twitch here. But thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to leave it a like and subscribe if you want to see more. The date I am filming this is the 20th of December. So if you celebrate in the festive season, I really hope you have a lovely holiday and lovely celebrations. If you don't, I hope you have a lovely December, and I will see you in the next video.